multiplication concepts. You're going to love this. This makes mathematics so much easier, and it's going to be very easy for you to grasp, to understand if you remember one simple thing. All multiplication is an advanced form of addition where we are adding up groups of the same number. That's all it is. And you probably do this already. When I was a child and I wanted to get something in the store, I would count up all of my nickels. Boy, I would count them up. I was good at it. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. Do you ever do that? Well, if you do, you're multiplying. That's what you're doing. You're counting up groups of 5 cents each, right? Each nickel's worth 5 cents. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. All we do in multiplication that's different from that is we memorize a set of tables that tells us what all of those basic groups or multiplication facts are already. So we already know that 6 groups of 5 things each is 30. And that makes multiplication possible. And you're going to learn that. It's very easy. We learn that by using our factor table. It's also known as a multiplication table, but we call it a factor table because factors are both multipliers and divisors. So you use it for division also, because division is the opposite operation to multiplication, and it's just as easy. If you know your factor table, you know both multiplication and division. Now the factor table you're going to do in the next lesson. But what I want you to do is to follow along this exercise we're going to do with manipulatives to illustrate multiplication concepts. And I want you to write them in. Get a blank factor table and let the student write them in under the supervision of the parent. And it's very easy to do that. In fact, you have one of these posters in your kit, so you should have no problem in knowing where to put the different multiples. And we'll cover that in the next lesson. Right now, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about multiplying groups of numbers. And let's start at the beginning with 0. Okay, I have 0 groups of 1 here. Let's take a look at my board, at my area here. I have 0 groups of 1. How many do I have? Well, I don't have any, do I? It's kind of like money, isn't it? If I have 0 nickels in my pocket, it doesn't matter that there's 5 cents in a nickel because I don't have any of them. So if I have 0 groups of nickels, I've got nothing. If I have 0 $1 bills in my pocket, I've got nothing. If I have 0 $5 bills in my pocket, I still have nothing. If I have 0 $20 bills in my pocket, I have nothing. Personally, I like to think of it this way. I have 0 $100 bills in my pocket. Of course, that still means I have nothing, but at least I feel better about it. So the rule is this. Every time you multiply by 0, you get nothing. Any number multiplied by 0 is 0. And it doesn't matter whether it's 0 times 5 or 5 times 0. It's still 0. Now that's different from addition. In addition, if you have 0 plus 1, it's going to be 1. If you have 0 plus 3, it's going to be 3. If you have 0 plus 5, it's going to be 5. But in multiplication, it isn't. Different rules for multiplication, and you'll have to get them down. 0 times anything is 0. Now let's do the ones. Now the ones are also easy, but different from addition. Let's start with one group of 1, because remember we're talking about adding groups here. If I have one group of 1, how many do I have? Well, it's pretty easy to count. There's 1, right? Now that's different. That's different from addition, because if you have 1 plus 1, it's 2. But 1 times 1 is one group of 1. There's only 1 in it. So I'm contrasting so you'll kind of get it clear. So let's take one group of 2. If I have one group with 2 in it, I have 2. 1, 2. You can just count them up, right? 1, 2. That's it. Now if I'm adding, it's going to be different. If I'm adding 1 plus 2, that gives us 3, right? But that's addition. This is multiplication. Multiplication says, give me 1 times 2. Give me one group of 2. There's only 2 in it. One group of 3. Give me one group of 3. Okay, how many are there? Well, 1, 2, 3. This is getting pretty easy, isn't it? Have you figured out the rule yet? In addition, if I add 1 plus 3, I get 4. But not in multiplication. Multiplication, we're saying give me one group of 3. There's only 3 in it. Give me one group of 4. There's 4 in it. One group of 5. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in it. Guess what? 1 times any number is that number itself. Okay, now that's pretty easy. You have to remember, we're talking about groups of numbers, and I'm saying, give me one group with that number in it. So 1 times 17? 17. 1 times 345? 345. So it's very easy. It's a very easy concept to learn. 0 times anything is 0. 1 times anything is that number itself. Now we're going to go on to the 2's. And here's one that you'll like. Let's take 2 groups of 2. We already did 1 group of 2, right? So we don't need to repeat that. So we're going to go do 2 groups of 2. Now this is interesting, because 2 groups of 2, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Guess what you get when you add 2 plus 2? You get 4. This is just about the only problem where your addition, sum, and your multiplication product, because the answer to a multiplication problem is called a product, where your sum and your product are going to be the same number. There is one other one. 0 plus 0 is 0. And 0 times 0 is 0. So 0 times 0 and 2 times 2 are the only 2 problems where your answer is going to be the same in addition and multiplication. Everything else will be different. Okay? Let's take another example. Give me 3 groups of 2. Now that is 3 times 2. Okay? Now I'm going to do this another way for you, right? 3 groups of 2 is what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's 6. That's the answer to the multiplication. Now I'm going to do it another way. All right? I'm going to put these right here, and I'm going to do it another way. Instead of taking 3 groups of 2, I'm going to take 2 groups of 3. Okay? Now one was 3 times 2, the other was 2 times 3. This one had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in it, and this one has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in it. Exactly the same answer. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether we think of it as 2 groups of 3 or 3 groups of 2. Multiplication, it's the same thing. It doesn't matter the order of the numbers. Here we go. 4 groups of 2. How many do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's just 2 more each time. So 4 times 2 is 8. Now, when you do this on your own, I want you to fill in your answers on your factor table as you go along. But you can go over these manipulatives several times, as many times as you need to until the learner really gets the concept down. You probably won't get it all done in one sitting. Now you can take these all the way up to 12 times 12 if you want and put out 12 groups of 12 blocks each. If you don't have blocks, you can use pennies. Just put them where they're touching in their groups. Or you can use little cut up pieces of paper. You can use beans, anything you want to, and just count them up. However, when you get up to 12 groups of 12 things each, that's a lot of blocks and beans and pennies to have on the table. Go that far if you want to, but that's the reason that we memorize the multiplication tables, so we don't have to do that. So we don't have to put out 12 blocks of 12 each and then count them up. So let's see if we can make short work of this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That is 5 groups of 2, 5 times 2. Guess what? If we put out 6 groups of 2, it's going to be 2 more. We're already to 10, right? 2 more is going to be 12. 6 times 2 is 12. You add 2 more each time. 7 groups of 2. 7 groups of 2 is going to be 14. You can count them all if you want. Each one by one. Let's do one more set. 8 groups of 2. 8 groups of 2 is going to be 16. Count them all. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 2 more. 9 groups of 2 is 18. Just add 2 more. 10 groups of 2 is 20. 10 times 2 is 20. Write it down on your factor table. 3 groups of 3. Count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 4 groups of 3. Now look, we've already counted these. We know there's 9. There's going to be 3 more. 9, 10, 11, 12. 4 times 3 is 12. 5 groups of 3. Now we've already counted the first 4. We know there's 12. There's going to be 3 more. 12, 13, 14, 15. These are called multiples. And we're going to learn all our multiples of 3 as we go along. So it would be 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. One more group of 3. It's going to make it 18, right? 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18. So we'll start with 4 times 4. Okay, 4 times 4. And I'm going to add them up in multiples of 4. And this is the way you're going to practice them too on your factor table. You're going to practice counting your multiples. Let's do that. This is 4, 8, 12, 16. So 4 times 4 is 16. Let's add another group of 4 in there. So now we have 5 groups of 4, right? Now we've already added up to 16. 4, 8, 12, 16, 20. 5 times 4 is 20. Let's add another group of 4. All right, we've got 20 already. We already counted up 5 fours. This is 6 fours. It's going to be 24. 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24. 6 groups of 4 is 24. Write that down on your factor table. You don't have to work with blocks for the rest of your life, but you want to do it until you really understand what you're doing. We've already done 5 groups of 4, which is the same as 4 groups of 5. So we don't need to repeat that. We can start at 5 groups of 5. Here we have 5 groups of 5. Most people learn the 5s pretty easily. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. You can count them each one by one if you want. You'll still get the same answer. Those are the multiples of 5. Let's take one more multiple of 5 and put it out there. 5 more. We were at 25, you remember? 5 times 5 is 25. Now we have 5 times 6. That's going to be 5 more. So that's going to be 30, because 25 plus 5 more is 30. We're just adding. You can do all your factor table as a series of additions. Just keep adding one more multiple of that number. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35. 7 times 5 is 35. 40. 8 times 5 is 40. 45. 9 times 5 is 45. Now I'm going to stop here, but you keep on going as long as you need to grasp the concept. And each time I want you to write it down on your factor table. And pretty soon you'll be able to fill out the factor table all by yourself.